I got my car settled in Kichiki Hospital's parking lot. Numerous Nissan Cedrics, likely belonging to the police, were there as well. The number wasn't surprising. They probably couldn't afford to be too careless now that Manami Naruto was confirmed to be a killer, after all. Even if she was nothing but a feeble little girl. I entered the hospital and found a suited cop staying watch over the hallway leading to an inpatient ward. Ayame was right next to him, so I gave her a little wave and beckoned her over.
Tokisaka sensei.
Naruko Manami-san to menkai shitai no da ga.
今は医師の診察を受けていますので。
あ、わかった。
I leaned against the nearest wall in response.
随分と物々しいな。
The cop in a suit appeared to have his eyes trained on the outpatients like a sentry on the Great Wall.
昨晩から幾度となく。
Hardly a shock. It was only inevitable that a case like this would attract the fervor of the press. Hell, there was already an article in the paper this morning about the case being solved. However, it lacked any details about the culprit and the full scope of the case. Only reasonable, seeing as how even we'd only just started to work it out ourselves. So really, it was no surprise that journalists would be raiding the hospital where the girls were staying, hoping to score the scoop of a lifetime.
敷地の外にも警官を配備していますから。
気をつけるに越したことはないだろうな。
Both the victims and perpetrator were little girls, after all. Regardless of what the investigation ultimately turned up, they still had their whole lives ahead of them.
他の子らの様子はどうだい？
田村さんと三枝さんですね。二人とも随分と落ち着いているようです。
外に記者連中がいるのに。
警察官が同行していますし。
That was a relief.
おや、随分と久しぶりの人がいるじゃない。
Kaede! What's good? I heard a voice calling out from behind me. Only been a week or so, but yeah, even that feels like it was a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
お久しぶりです、渡辺先生。
Sure enough, none other than the psych ward's very own Kaede Watanuki was there looking at me when I turned around.
そうか、君も今回の事件に関わっているのだったね。
ええ。渡辺先生は鳴子まなみさんの診察ですか？
ああ、どうもこちら側での調査が必要そうな状況だから。
で、どうでしたか？
せっかちだね、君も。彼女が一連の事件の犯人だというのは診察の直前に知らされたので、まあ間違いなく脳の機能に問題があるようだね。
Sociopathy, mythomania, callousness, acute egocentrism. God damn.
親が監禁したのもうなずけるという話。
これから彼女の担当医から資料を取り寄せて分析するよ。もっとも、
なぜですか
Ayame chimed in.
それ以前の問題さ。彼女の年齢から言っても、そもそもその行為を罪には問えない。
Okay, she can't be tried for crimes, but like, we...
そんな。
彼女の両親を訴えることはできるだろうが。
Well, yeah, no, they're not gonna try a fucking... Come on, Ayame. She's like, what, 10?
面会できますか？
意味はないと思うがね。まあ君はあの六式誠と
Yeah, well, his tangos with Roshiki never went that well in the first place. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up just fucking decking this kid, but you know, alright. Kinda glanced at Ayame.
私が何か。
あれに世間一般の常識が通用すると考えない方がいい。
あ
あ。Ayame nodded despite the evident confusion on her face. Guess seeing's gonna be believing in this case.
要するに何があっても冷静でいろということさ。
わかりました。
Ayame nodded one last time before setting out from Manami's room. Manami Naruto came into view the moment I opened the door. She was sitting up in bed.
Yeah.
Hey. Called out to her, but she simply shot us a glance, not even reacting to our arrival.
少し話いいかな？
何
Manami cocked her head curiously.
地下でのことを少しね。
I snagged a folding chair and took a seat. That way I could match her eye level.
君はなぜあの地下にいたんだい？
自分の部屋にいてはいけないの
Manami fired back without even missing a beat.
部屋？
ええ。お父様が用意してくださった
私だけの広いお部屋よ。
Oh, that's what she was told, huh? It's just a big room, all for you, baby girl. Big ol' room. Was that what she told herself? Was that the only way she'd ever managed to bear living down there? Was I reading this the wrong way entirely?
そこであったことを聞かせてくれるかい？
あったこと？
友達というのは
ええ、お父様が連れてきてくれたのよ。
Manami smiled without a care in the world. It was the same innocent smile many girls her age wore, bearing not even a hint of malice.
君が頼んだのかい？
そうよ。私はお部屋を出たことがなくて、お友達を作る機会がなかったのですもの。
It sounded like she was telling the truth.
彼女たちの前にもお友達はいたんじゃないのかい？
いないわ。
Manami shook her head.
そんなことはないだろう。二人の前にもさらに二人。
Choosing back, well, they weren't my friend.
あの子たちのこと？
友達じゃ。
メソメソ泣いているばかりだし、私の言うことも聞か
Oh
ないし。
God.
だから殺したのですか？
Ayame abruptly broke her
仕方
silence.
ないじゃない。いつまで経っても泣き止まないし。
そんなことで。
I held up my hand just before Ayame could erupt with rage.
冷静に。
はい。
Come on now, Ayame. Jesus Christ. It's a child. Not that I blamed her, of course. That was simply what an encounter with pure malice. No. Malice that didn't even know it was malice. Did to you. An unadulterated desire to kill without any obsessions behind the helm.
匂いがすごかったのよ。
Manami suddenly spoke up again.
匂い？
ええ、ずっと放ってたから大変なことになっちゃったの。蹴って転がして端っこに寄せておいて。
Hearing all that made me want to puke. And said maybe the fault didn't entirely lie with her. After all, she hadn't asked for any of this. She's just been born that way, plain and simple. I mean, yeah,
ま
sure.
だ続けますか？
Ayame whispered into my
辛
ear.
かったら出ていてもいいんだぞ。
いえ、見届けます。
Okay, then shut up and quit yelling. Ayame took a step back.
三枝いろはと田村遥を殺さなかったのは
Manami cocked her head curiously.
おじさんはお友達を殺すの？
友達じゃなくても殺さないさ。
I retorted tit for tat.
そう。
Manami flopped onto the bed.
あの二人が最後だって言われたの。
父親がそう言ったのかい？
そうよ。だからきちんとお友達になったわ。一度だけパンに殺虫剤を混ぜて食べさせたけど、
Jesus fuck. Manami looked up to me and giggled.
一緒に遊んでいたの。地下に悪者が攻めてくるのよ。
So it was all a game to her then. Was that why she attacked me when I went down there?
眩しいわ。
Manami abruptly threw the covers over her head. The winter sunlight breaking through the window wasn't all that bright, in all honesty. But it dawned on me just how blinding it must have seemed to a girl who'd lived underground for years on end. It wasn't the sort of thing one could readjust in a day or two.
出ようか。
I rose to my feet after addressing Ayame.
切り上げてしまってよかったのですか？
Ayame presented me with that question once we were outside.
おそらく俺たちではまともな証言を得られないさ。そうでしょう、綿貫先生。
Gary Watanuki, who'd been leaning against the wall outside Manami's room as though she'd been waiting for us, chuckled.
聞き耳を立てさせてもらっていたが、何？他の連中よりずっとまともに会話が成立していたよ。
それはどうも。
I attempted to keep as much irritation out of my voice as possible. Ayame stepped forward.
綿貫先生、質問よろしいでしょうか？彼女が更生することはあり得るのでしょうか？
君の言う更生とはどの状態のことを指すのだ？
それは罪を認めて反省して。
不可能ではないだろうが、極めて難しいだろうね。
そうなのですか？
例えば、そうだな。
に
Ayamo answered despite her evident bewilderment.
そう答えられるのが君しかいなかったとしたらどうだい？
ですが2であることは間違いありません。
彼女が置かれているのはそういう状況なのだよ。我々が 1+1 の答えが3だと言っても君は納得するまい。
自分の考えこそが正しいと思い込んでいる。
思い込むという領域を超えているね。それが彼女の世界なのだから。
よくわかりません。
I don't know, I think it's pretty fucking clear, but okay. Ayamo shook her head.
病気ではないから治療もできない。精神外科の分野では手術で何とかすることもできるが、それだって改善ではない。人格そのものを書き換える。そのくらいしなければ普通の生活は送れないだろうさ。
I knew someone capable of that. There's no way in hell we'd dare let him do it.
まあどのみち警察にできることはもう何もないよ。
わかりました。
Ayamo hung her head.
ああそうそう。警察にできることといえば
Ayamo looked up at Kaede.
何ですか？
傷害容疑で身柄を確保されたやつがいたろ。保護された子の叔父だとかいう。
Right. Yusuke Tamara.
事情聴取は他の方がされていると思いますが。
鳴子聡子への傷害は認めたようだね。ただ犯行時に心神耗弱状態にあった疑いが強いんで私が診察するのだが。
いや待ってくれ。そんな状態であの場にたどり着けるとは到底思えないのだが。
Not if you truly had been tiptoeing the line of insanity anyway.
だから調べるのだろうさ。まだ入院しているから。
わかりました。
Ayamo marched off with confidence behind her steps. She probably knew where his room was. Thus I decided to follow her,
時坂さん
only to be stopped by a voice from behind.
チキさんどうも。
事件解決なさったようですね。
ええまあ
The fuck do you want?
犠牲者が増えなくて何よりでした。
Yeah, I tell you here to suck your brother off on his lunch break, you sick bitch. He gestured at the small lunchbox she carried.
ええ兄の昼食です。
Oh, yeah? She sort of smiled.
兄もいい年ですのにいつまで経っても
Stuck making his meals and sucking them off, yeah. Yet Chisuda sounded very happy about that despite her grumblings.
時坂先生。
Ayamo hailed me.
すみません。まだすることがありますの。
ええお仕事頑張ってくださいね。
Your words mean nothing to me. Chisuda bowed and left me in peace. I hurried over to the door where Ayamo was waiting once that was done and
悪
dusted.
い待たせたな。
それは構いませんが。
挨拶をしただけさ。
I gave the door a quiet knock before opening it. Yusuke Tamara was on the bed. He had an IV tube in his arm. Fortunately, he was more than conscious enough to look my way and give a tiny nod of acknowledgement.
気分はどうだ。
What's good, bud? Yusuke didn't say anything. Grabbed a chair and sat down next to
聞
him.
いているとは思うが、田村遥は無事助け出されたよ。
Yusuke nodded.
さて、そこで質問だ。
How he'd found out she was being kept prisoner there was already enough to raise eyebrows. But him also knowing crucial facts like her being kept underground, that just opened a huge can of worms. As such, we need to clarify where he'd come across the information.
それは教えてくれたんだ。
Yusuke looked up to the ceiling as he said that.
教えてくれた。
はい。教会で神父さんが。
神父
Why would he know or do that?
予言でもしたのかね。
Kaede, who was standing behind me with her arms crossed, broached the topic before even I could.
そういや、前にも神父がどうとか言っていたな。
Emma retrieved a stack of documents from her bag when I asked that question.
ちょっと待ってください。彼、
Then all of a sudden, Emma froze.
神父ですか？
Emma's gaze locked onto Yasuke.
あそこは神教、プロテスタント系の教会です。私が行った時に会った方は、牧師と名乗りました。
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's Catholics who call their men of cloth priests. Since their religions and roles were different, there's no way one would refer to themselves by the opposite term.
別人か
Oh. Emma nodded.
あの教会は、不特定多数の者が出入りしていました。 牧師本人ではなく
No
他の
fucking
人が
shot.
神父を名乗っていたとしても
Is there any
おかしくはありません。
hyper-religious man we could think of who's, I don't know, maybe on the run, hiding out in the woods, has very strong Catholic feelings? No fucking shot. But then how would he know? That brings up an even bigger question. How would he know?
お前さんが神父と呼ぶやつについて聞かせてもらおうか。
Okay, so cards on the table. Obviously, the man I'm thinking of is Rokshki, right? Rokshki is this priest that came to him and told him, right? If that's the case, the only way I could think of that he would know about the children underground is if he had been the psychologist for what's-her-face, Manami, and almost like as if he had some involvement with it in its initial stages, because she'd been down there for years. Okay, well, when was she first put down there? Because I gotta remember, this is after the 6-year time skip, so years doesn't necessarily mean anything. Because Rokshki was in jail for 2 years before the time skip even happened. But if it had been long enough... Let me peep my notes. I was trying to see if there was any... like, notes on when his daughter had gotten taken. But I'm not seeing anything. Let's go to investigation notes then. Let's go to investigation notes. Uh-huh. Questioning in Chofu. Mosky checked the other families. I spike nards as it was. I got nothing. Got nothing. Cause like if Rokshki was Manami's psychiatrist, right? If anything, he could have worsened her condition and then like suggested the parent had a hand in what the parents did. I scooched my chair over to Yusuke's pillow side so I could look him in the eye.
神父様は他の人と同じように
I made him a self-proclaimed priest then.
そこまで分かっている割には。
いろいろと相談に乗ってもらいました。名誉を探す時も。
なぜその神父は言い当てられた？どのように言われたんだ？
それは地下を調べろと。それとあとは兄は必ず余計なことをして尻尾を出すだろう。
Is he referring to Akiyuki Naruto's disposal of the bodies? Had this priest just been blindly guessing, or was his prognosis rooted in any sort of solid proof?
田村さん、これを見てください。
I even showed Yusuke a piece of paper. Wait, that's...
当初、現場近辺で不審者として上がっていた男性です。
Indeed. She brought out none other than Naoto Kuroya's sketch.
違います。
Nope. Yusuke shook his head.
違う。
もっと年上の。
While the sketch was 6 years old, I still doubt Naoto Kuroya looked a day over 40 nowadays, so that ruled him out.
他に特徴はありますか？
I even put away the sketch and continued the interrogation.
他には名前が
Saito. Yup.
先生。
I even regarded me funnily when I jolted out of my chair.
斎藤ね
Yeah, Kaine's like, oh really? Saito. Interesting. Kaine spoke as if she found all this amusing, because she does. Yusuke shook his head. I even tugged at my sleeve. I balled my fist and produced my notebook once I was confident enough that I could remain on my feet. Should have a photo of him in
そ
here.
の斎藤と名乗った神父は
Rokshki.
おそらくそうだと思い
Yup,
ます。
that's him. Yusuke nodded after seeing Makoto Rokshki's photo. That son of a bitch had seriously gone back to his old alias.
まさか今頃になって彼が現れるとはね。
Kaede chuckled.
六式誠。6年前に逃亡した人で。
Huh? Oh, right. Yeah, she wouldn't know anything about our history together, would she?
それにしても黒や直りといい。
それは仕方あるまい。付近の開発で労働者が多く流入しているから。
ずっとこの辺りに潜んでいたというのか。
そうとは限らないのではないかね。教会で寝泊まりしていたということは。
それにしても。
I was still bitter that we hadn't found him after all these years. After all, who knew how many incidents we could have averted had I caught him?
過ぎたことを悔やんでも仕方がないさ。
Kaede gave me a tap on the shoulder. Yeah, she's right. I had to stop dwelling on what ifs and focus on planning out my next course of action
優
instead.
作さん、この男は他に何か言ってませんでしたか？
I showed Roshiki's photo to Yusaku again.
他にいろいろと相談に乗ってもらいました。
Yusaku cocked his head. Crap. Probably didn't phrase that very well.
彼はどのくらい教会にいましたか？
自分が知っている限りでは昨年の暮れ頃からいたと思います。
Yusaku scanned a calendar as he answered me. So they met while he was away from home, huh?
23日に教会へ行きましたが、この六式という人はいませんでした。
もう別の場所に行っただろうな。
Honestly, though, I'd be shocked if he'd stuck around after a series of corpses were discovered in the neighborhood.
緊急配備は無駄でしょうか？
そうだな。でも一応魚住には連絡しておいてくれ。
I knew it was too late to cast our net wider and hope to catch him. Were he that easy to arrest, we would have caught him 14 years ago, back in the days of the Roshiki case. No, what we needed here was to devise a plan. Oh yeah? I left Yusaku's room.
彼はもう少し様子を見た方がいいかもしれないね。
Kaede glanced back toward the door.
六式誠の誘導が精神に何らかの影響を及ぼしたことは濃厚だ。
She could say that again. Though I couldn't tell whether or not we should take comfort in the fact that at least no one had died as a result this time.
まあ判断を下すのは警察か検察の仕事だ。
Well, my job would have normally ended as soon as we found those girls last night. After all, not only had they been rescued, but the culprit had been caught too. That was good enough for me.
時坂先生はその六式という人を追う。
だろうな。柳沼の仇も撃たなければならないしな。
I had to ensure he could finally close the book on the worst mistake of his life.
捜査二課の柳沼警視でしたら亡くなってはい。
No, but his hopes and dreams sure were. Oh, that's a new chapter. That's a new phrase. Huh. Maybe I'll catch it next time. The sun was already setting by the time Masuki arrived at Huchu prison. The guard simply let Masuki to the visitation room with barely a word after he explained the reasons for his visit, probably because he'd been here at least 3 times over the last week and a half alone. Once there, Masuki took a seat and waited for Sei Maizono. Is this gonna be the same scene as before? Nope, okay. Shortly thereafter, she appeared on the other side of the
ま
glass.
さきくん。
前園さん、娘さんは無事保護されましたよ。
Masuki got straight to the point.
聞いてるわ。本当に。
Sei bowed her head.
時坂さんに伝えておきますよ。
Sei took a seat in the chair on the other side.
やや衰弱が見られるため、昨晩は大事をとって病院で一泊したそうです。
Masuki read off a note describing Haruka Tamano's condition.
兄が捕まったと聞いたけれど。
優作さんははるかさんを助けようとしていたそうです。
しかも疲労で倒れたって言うじゃない。本当。
Sei heaved a sigh of exasperation.
まあ、そのおかげではるかさんの居場所が分かったわけですから。
それはそうかもしれないけど、私が言えた義理じゃない
Yeah,
けど。
no shit. I wonder, did Yusaku go mad with desperation, or was it something else entirely that drove him to the nautical residence? Unfortunately, Masuki wasn't privy to that information, seeing as how he hadn't been there for Yusaku Tamaro's interrogation.
会うことがあれば。
そ かさんはあなたがここにいることを知っているんですか？
That question suddenly struck Masaki.
母には口止めしてもらっているわ。私がここを出ることもないでしょうし。
無期刑でも執行後10年が経過すれば仮出獄は可能なのですがね。
What the fuck are you doing here? A voice suddenly echoed from behind Masaki.
八木沼さん。
Yeah, what the hell?
もっともそう簡単に許可されないとは思いますが、あなたは本来死刑であってもおかしくはないのですから。
そうならなかったのはあなたが手を回したからじゃない。
Sage sounded less than enthused.
八木沼さんが？
窓際部署に飛ばされた僕にそんな力があるはずないでしょ。
Yaginuma shrugged.
あなたの価値を上の連中が認めたということですよ。
あの空の少女の修復ですよね。
それだけじゃないわ。
それ以上は言わない方がいいですよ。
Yaginuma interrupted before she could continue.
他にも何かあるんですか？
僕だってただ感触にいるだけじゃありませんから。
Oh, Yaginuma readjusted his glasses while speaking in a pompous tone.
先ほど興味深い報告も届きましたからね。
What does he even mean by that? What's this regarding a report?
ああ、あなたの娘を拉致した男の供述が取れましたよ。
Yaginuma turned to face Sei.
娘の遊び相手にするためにさらったそうです。以前同様にしてさらわれた少女は殺されていますから。
I see his fall from grace to little changes his acerbic tongue.
私には何も言う権利はないわ。
Sei shook her head.
ただ一つ聞きたいのは、その人はなぜ遺棄した死体を加工したのか。
A reasonable question, considering she never would have been notified of the case were it not for the first body resembling the angel from Exile of Paradise.
事件について目立たせたかったようですね。過去の凶悪犯罪を模倣すれば騒ぎになると思ったのでしょう。
くだらないことを。
Sei sounded disgusted.
模倣の模倣。確かにくだらないですね。
Yaginuma smirked.
せめてあなたの精神を引き継ぐなどがあればまた違ったでしょうに。
それこそくだらないことだわ。
There was no room for Masaki in their conversation.
もういいでしょう、まさきくん。はるかについてはもう少し考えさせてちょうだい。
ええ。
Yeah, I guess I'll go. Masaki could do nothing but respect her wishes. The lights were on when I got home. There were only so many people who could get in while I was out, so must be her.
おかえり。
ああ、ただいま。
Stella was in the living room, exactly as I'd anticipated.
ご飯できてる。
Stella hung up my coat as she relayed that information to me.
悪いな、いつも。
大丈夫。事件終わったって聞いて。
なんとかな。
I loosened my tie and plopped down onto the sofa.
晩飯の前にお茶を一杯もらえるから。
待ってて。
Stella disappeared into the kitchen. Phew. There was something she deserved to know. However, I kept debating whether I should tell her. After all, he was by absolutely no means a stranger to her. No, she needs to know. Stella came back just then.
お待たせ。
She poured hot water into a teapot before setting the kettle on the
ス
heater.
テラ、
何？
Stella remained focused on pouring the tea into a teacup as she responded.
6式の手がかりが見つ。
Stella spilled a few drops of tea onto the table.
誠？
まあ、思ったよりも近くに潜んでいたらしい。
I gave Stella a rundown of what I'd learned today.
神父。
He did indeed possess an undeniable magnetism common to those in that line of work. Unless you knew what kind of person he really was, beneath the mask, that is.
でもどうして？
Stella cocked her head,
さあな。
took the teacup and had a sip.
何かを企んでいたとは考えにくい。さすがにそうすれば警察の捜査網に引っかかるだろうからな。
No, he'd likely disguised himself as your average day laborer and blended in with them. Though it was so him to pretend to be a priest that it wasn't even funny.
ご飯持ってくる。
Stella returned to the kitchen. Though we had to bring Orochiki to justice, I wasn't as obsessed with him as I'd once used to be. No, there was now someone else out there whose obsession with him far exceeded my own. Sat back and sipped at my tea, all the while hoping that CID Section 2's own pompous four-eyed superintendent wouldn't try to pull any stupid shit. Yeah, about that. About our favorite superintendent. I don't want to get your hopes up, bud. I woke up and plodded over to the living room. It was already nice and toasty in there, indicating Stella was up.
おはよう、レイジ。
She then stepped out into the living room right on cue.
はい、新聞。
あ
Took the newspaper Stella handed me and set it on the table. The front page had an article concerning the upcoming Olympics. So I don't know if they'll have Yoyogi National Gymnasium ready in time due to construction delays, huh? Stella turned on the TV and watched the morning news. They were currently discussing the Olympics, much like the paper.
お湯沸かしてた。
Stella rose to her
俺
feet.
が止めてくるよ。コーヒーでいいか？
うん、ありがとう。
With that settled, I went to the kitchen, turned off the stove, and washed my face while I was at it. Then I ground beans for Moonworld and the mill and brewed coffee. Stella had the newspaper open across the floor in front of her like a picnic blanket by the time I got back.
何かあったか？
I set Stella's mug down on the table with those words.
うん。
As it turned out, she was reading none other
事
than
件の記事か。
featured a picture of the girls being escorted to ambulances, probably from shortly after they were rescued 2 nights ago. Ugh, maybe I should have confiscated that camera. Sure, it'd give the police a bad rap, but that'd probably be better than having their faces on full display.
どこ？
Stella pointed to Iroha in the photo. Oh.
似てる。なんとなくだけど。
Yeah. She then looked up at my face. Personally, I thought Haruka Tamura looked more like her than Iroha did, but nevertheless.
その子だ。
I told Stella the truth.
そう、
Stella gingerly stroked Iroha's face through the photo.
伝えた？
いや、何も
Took a sip of coffee, hanging my head.
どうして？
Stella raised an eyebrow.
あちらさんの家族を見たらね、余計な混乱を与えたくなかった。
She's been raised with love by the Saigasas for 6 years now. Which was exactly why I didn't want to storm in and throw a wrench into all of that. After all this time.
そう。
Stella set a hand atop my head. I wasn't sure if she was caressing it or trying to comfort me. However, what I did know is that her warmth brought me peace. Fuck. Suddenly the phone rang. Got up, tousled Stella's hair, and took the call.
はい、時坂ですが。
病院の山之内です。時坂さん。
Though I couldn't see her face, her tone made it perfectly evident that she was quite flustered.
何かありましたか？
Kept a close yet surreptitious eye on Stella as I asked that question.
それが、至急病院へ来ていただけますか。こちらで事情はお話ししますので。
Something happened to Iroha, didn't it? Specifically Iroha. Tell me I'm wrong.
わかりました。
Though she hadn't provided me the explanation I'd wanted, it was clear that something deadly serious had happened. In other words, I didn't have a moment to lose.
よろしくお願いします。
I hung up only to find Stella standing by with fresh clothes for me at the ready.
出かける？
ああ、悪い。君も今日は仕事だろ？
I responded as I got changed.
うん。レイジの後で出てく。
だったら日の本と戸締まりは頼むな。
With that, I donned my jacket and grabbed my car keys.
いってらっしゃい。気をつけて。
Yeah, because I have a good day at my job. I drove over to Kichiki Hospital. The place was practically deserted, probably because it was still too early for most appointments. Fortunately, that left the parking spot closest to the back door free for the taking. I love parking near the back door.
時坂さん。
Kato hailed me over as soon as I stepped inside.
おはようございます、山之内先生。
それは、まずはこちらへ。
Kato gestured to a nearby reception room. Yes, we'll take it somewhere private. Now, please,
実
details.
は、三枝いろはさんの姿が
Yup.
今朝から見当たらないのです。
Yup. Kato abruptly dropped that bombshell on me as soon as we shut the door behind us. Though I suspected her news wouldn't be good, the shocking revelation still ground my thoughts to a halt.
詳しく聞かせてください。
As such, that was ultimately the only response I could muster.
はい。三枝さんがいないことに気づいたのは当直の看護婦です。明け方病室に入ったところ、
いろはさんが部屋にいるのを最後に確認したのは、
Get your head in the game, Reiji. You can't stand around like a slack-jawed idiot forever.
昨晩9時の衝動時にいたことは間違いありません。その後は、
Kato hung her head.
不審者などは見ていませんね。
That seemed to be where the story was headed anyway.
え
Yeah?
え、夜間に
Yeah?
外部から来た人は 一切いませんでした。
And guess who was fucking up to some sneaky shit the last time? Oh, we didn't notice anyone suspicious in the hospital. It was the goddamn director himself, huh? And if we remember how he responded once he came to realize who Iraha was a biological child of, he seemed quite flustered, quite anxious. Yeah, no outsiders entered the hospital, huh? There's no sign of any intruders, huh?
このことを
Inside job,
届け
huh?
られましたか？
いえ、それが院長に確認を取ってから届け出ることになっているのですが、
But you haven't been.
その院長が捕まらず
Oh,
フミヤさん
that's crazy. Put two and two together for me.
もともと休みなのですが、自宅に電話をしても誰も出なくて。
Yeah, no, go ahead, put two and two
それで
together
木坂
for
さ
me.
んに
Why don't you, well, okay, you don't. Do you know that Fumiya got coerced in driving that ambulance? Trying to think. Trying to think. Maybe we didn't tell people that he got coerced, so maybe you wouldn't know. Maybe you wouldn't know. All right. Maybe you wouldn't be able to think like, oh wait, he's done something like this in the past, hasn't he? Maybe Fumiya and Chizuru went out somewhere.
病院内にいないことは確かなのですよね。
We couldn't afford to tarry.
わかりました。
Gato made a beeline for the phone at the desk. Meanwhile, I slumped onto the sofa and let my thoughts wander. So Ira Sagasa is missing. But why? Doesn't make any sense. I found it hard to believe she'd left all by herself, correct? It was more reasonable to assume someone took her. The question was, why her? I doubted Haruka Tamura and Manami Naruko were also missing, since Gato would have mentioned otherwise, correct? So then what was it that someone found so special about Iraha?
すぐに来ていただけるそうで。
Gato hung up the phone and scurried back to me.
そうですか。それで他の子は問題ありませんか？
他の、鳴子まなみさんは昨晩警察病院へ移りましたが、
警察病院へ。
ここでは万が一の状況に対処できないだろうと。
That made sense, considering exactly what she was capable of.
それでこちらで問題が起きては意味がないのですが。
Gato sighed. Damn, that was
やれ
quick.
やれ参ったね。
Oh, it's Kaede.
外にもどこにもいやしない。
Fuck.
いや来てい
I
た
was
の
like,
か。
Jesus, woe is me. That was fucking quick. She like just got off the phone with you. What were you like parked outside waiting? No, it's honey
あ、
buns.
た
Let's
ぬき
go.
先生。
私も当直だったからさ。こんなことになるのならば自宅で休んでいた方が良かったね。
Daddy grumbled as she flopped onto the
夜
sofa.
に何か気づかれたことは？
ん不審者の類は
Did you
一切
spot
な
the
かった
director?
と報告してあるが。
Kaede glanced at Koharu.
それは聞いています。
Kaede stroked her chin in contemplation.
先ほど三枝いろは城の病室を見てきたが、
まさか。
She shouldn't have any reason to leave the hospital after all.
そうだね。ただこのことから考えられるの。
強引な拉致などではないということか。
No signs of struggle meant that Ira must have readily consented to leaving her room.
無論睡眠薬などで眠らされていた可能性もある。
聞いていれば内部の人間が怪しいように思えるのですが。
その通りだよ。
Kaede grimaced.
綿貫先生、
ちなみに夜間に出入りができる通用口のそばに宿直室があって、
消灯後その通用口を使ったものは？
昨日の遅番で当直ではないものすべてだよ。
その中に三枝さんを連れ出した人がいるというんですか？
退出者全員を確認しているわけでもないのでしょう。
そんな、一体誰が？
I have an
それ
idea.
を調べるの
I have an
が
idea.
自分の役目です。
Mr. Krabs, I have an idea. I got up and made my way over to the door.
三枝さんがいた病室を見てきます。あと、ご家族へ
Yeah,
の
that's
連絡を
always a
お願いしま
possibility.
す。
Dude, shut up, Reggie. Like, yes, the parents do need to be notified, but you don't need to say some dumb shit like that. Though I seriously doubted that in all honesty. I let Koharu and Kaede behind me and weaved through the hallways until I reached Ira's room. The place was barren as a desert. There weren't even the slightest signs of anyone had ever stayed there. I checked the window, but it was blocked by thin metal bars, making it unlikely she'd gotten out through there. Similar incident that occurred 8 years ago, this facility was still known as Kichiki Pathological Research Institute, came back to me. No, this is different. Yeah, this isn't a fucking helpless, limbless woman. That one was a special case. Can't go confusing myself by making this disappearance out to be more complicated than it actually is. I was sure by this point that Ira had gone with someone, and willingly at that. The fact that she hadn't left any clothes behind and the immaculately made bed were proof. This person told her that they were transferring her to another hospital, or even taking her home. A quiet voice rang out behind me, interrupting my musings. Haruka? Turn around and find Haruka Tamara peeking through the open door.
君か。
おじさん、いろはちゃんは
That's why I intend to find out.
ちょっと出かけているみたいだね。
Haruka trotted over and leaned against the edge of the bed.
やっぱりそうなんだ。
やっぱり。
夜中にね。
誰が来ていたか。
Took everything in my power to hide the surprise in my voice and disguise that gasp as a deep breath.
隣のお部屋だし。
それもそうか。
Flashed Haruka a smile. Not just to reassure her, but to warn myself not to let my panic get the better of me.
何時頃かはさすがにわからないか。
お部屋の明かりが消えてすぐくらいよ。
Right after lights out, huh?
そうか。
どういたしまして。
Aren't you a sweetie? Haruka responded with a precocious little bow of her head.
体調はもういいのかい？
おかげさまで今日退院できるのよ。
That's great.
そうか。
だから
Aww.
いろはちゃんに会いたかった。
She wanted to tell her bestie that she was gonna home. Haruka hung her
あ
head.
の子にはこちらから伝えておくよ。
Sure hope they stay friends for a while to come. Recovering from trauma is easier when you've got someone who's been in the same boat to talk to.
ありがとう。おじさん。
なんだい？
まなみちゃんはどうしちゃったの？
あの子は。
I fumbled over my words. She and Ira probably hadn't been told the truth.
心配はいらないよ。
そうなの。
She didn't see right through me, did she? Suddenly there was a violent pounding on the wall. Haruka clung to my leg as she looked that way.
怖がらせてるんじゃねえよ、魚住。
I followed suit and reprimanded the giant ox of a man standing there.
なつもりはねえよ。
Ozumi bashfully entered the room.
このおじさん。
Barely managed to keep myself from laughing my ass off at that question.
いや、どちらかといえば正義の味方だよ。
どちらもこちらもねえよ。ああ、レジ。
Ozumi glowered before shooting Haruka an overt glance, so I noticed
お
it.
じさんたちはちょっと仕事があるから部屋に戻っていてくれるかな。
それじゃあね、おじさん。
Haruka passed by Ozumi and left the
子
room.
供相手にはもう少し愛想よくしてやれよ。
うるせえよ。
Ozumi closed the door behind him.
例だ。状況は聞いた。佐藤を三枝家へ向かわせて
ああ、それは助かる。
何か分かったか？
おそらく内部犯だろう。騙されて連れ出された可能性がある。
それだったらすぐに解決しそうだな。
まあな。だが分からないのは
I mean, I can think.
なぜ連れ出したのか。
Let's think. The why is the question I don't know, because there's clearly something going on with Fumiya. Clearly, something's going on there, but I don't know the why of it. I can pretty confidently point my finger and go, yeah, it's that guy. But the why of it is definitely the question that is escaping my mind. It didn't seem to me like it had anything to do with the Nautico abductions. Furthermore, the Psychuses were just your average farmers who weren't growing money on trees or anything. As such, it was hard to believe ransom was the motive either.
そういや、朝刊に写真が載ってただろう。あれは何か関係あるのか？
ないだろうな。いなくなったのは昨晩。
それもそうか。となると、
Ozumi headed for the door.
昨日いた連中を洗い出して、
一人気になる人物がいる。
Bitch.
朽木文也か。お前さんがそう言うってことは怪しいのか？
Yeah, he is.
何の確証もないよ。
よく言うぜ、タク。
Ozumi and I left the room.
佐藤を後で向かわせるから合流してくれ。
That'd be convenient, seeing as it'd give me access to a police radio, and therefore any incoming information.
あ、よ。